PAC5 athletics. Be strong enough to stand alone. Be yourself enough to stand apart. But be wise enough to stand together when the time comes. For the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. Dr. Kimura, I want to thank you for your service throughout the years that you have provided to all of our many student athletes. You have comforted our parents. You have comforted the athletic administrators of our schools because of all your efforts. I want to thank you.
This is the first time I've ever received an award of any kind. And I want to say, I really appreciate this because it took me 27 years to come home to Hawaii. And I'm a Moevao High School graduate. So, it took me 27 years for the University of Hawaii to ask me to come back. It was the second time that they asked that I came back to actually help the DOE establish all their athletic trainers. Because believe it or not, you're looking at the first Asian American athletic trainer in the United States. And the first athletic trainer from Hawaii, certified in the National Athletic Trainers Association by the Board of Certification. And that only happened because I'm old. I graduated in 1970 from the new first year of the new Waipahu High School, long, long ago. But I started at the University of Hawaii Lab School. So I'm from everywhere. Kaimuki, Manoa, Waipahu, Eva Beach, you name it, and all over the mainland as well. And I'm so glad to be home and to blend into the crowd and to not have anybody know who I am. So I have to say, this is a major shock because most of you know, being a female Asian American of my age, you never expect to be rewarded for something that's expected of you. So thank you.
So again, on behalf of the PAC5 Judo program, we'd like to present the Hall of Fame honor to Risha Mishima.
Of course, my daughter's not here, but she prepared a speech for us to tell you. Okay, she wants to say thank you, Peter, and his amazing PAC5 staff for everything that you do to allow the students to participate and allow the coaches to coach effectively. Thank you to the judo and wrestling coaches for your mentorship in guiding me in the coaching aspect of each respective sport. Your patience and welcoming attitudes created camaraderie and effective communication. Finally, she wants to thank us, which is rare, who have both guided me to be the person I am today. So thank you, everybody, for this great honor, and may you all be blessed with another wonderful year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to say that besides Risha, her father, Bert, has also been part of our PAC5 program as one of our judo coaches. Bert and Mrs. Mishima, in behalf of PAC5 Athletics and for the gift of your daughter in our program, I want to thank you very much. Thank you.
Please join me in congratulating Coach John Schmidke.
I didn't know what to expect tonight. I didn't know whether I was going to have to speak. I just asked. But just in case, I decided to write out a few remarks. I have a 27-minute one, but I'll just give you the 3-minute version. I'm only able to be here tonight because of my wife, Mary. We've been married for 41 years, and she understood my compulsion to be around a group of people striving for excellence. It was either that or she wanted me out of the house a lot. No matter what Mary's reason was, I thank her. The second reason I'm here is because of Aaron Sekulich. Aaron, raise your hand or stand up, please. As Jared said, Aaron was my co-head coach for the entire time I was at PAC5, and we agreed to team up in 2001. We brought complementary skills into the wrestling room. He made me a much better coach. This honor is his honor because without him, our program would have been good, but it would not have been great. Our athletes would have done well, but they wouldn't have achieved the excellence that they did on the mat year after year. Third reason why I'm here is because of John Hom, Peter Estamago, and Jim Bucas. They could see the passion that Aaron and I had for our athletes and our sport. And even though neither of us have been a head coach before, they let us take over the reins of PAC5. PAC5 had a solid wrestling history. It was a leader in bringing about women's wrestling to be recognized as part of the HHSAA, and we were a leader nationally in women's wrestling. But PAC5 wrestling was in a trough when we took over. We only had 5 varsity wrestlers, and the rest of those 25 that Jared talked about were JV and intermediate wrestlers. We built the program to the point where, after I left, Aaron had 2 of the same wrestlers from PAC5 at the same weight, rather. 2 wrestlers from PAC5 at the same weight meet each other in the state finals of the state tournament. And that's an awesome, unique accomplishment. And then the final reason why I'm here tonight is because of the athletes that trusted Aaron and gave us their hearts. They trusted Aaron and I, and that means so much. There are several of them at the table, in the audience, people that I haven't seen in 10 years, and it made my night. They believed in what Aaron and I had to say. Number 1, have fun. Number 2, never give up. Number 3, honor the game. 4, honor the opponent, and use the sport to make yourself a better person. And here's what's special about the athletes as well. And I need to tell you a little bit of a story. Last year I was team leader for the U.S. team at the World Championships in Slovakia. Men's freestyle, women's freestyle, and Greco-Roman. And Gary Mayab is the head coach of the Greco-Roman team. And after the tournament, he called these athletes together, and I was a part of the group. And Gary speaks in a very calm voice, a very soothing voice, and the wrestlers all leaned in to hear what he had to say. And he told them, and this is what I believe for all my wrestlers out there, that they were the future of wrestling. He thanked them for being the ones who would continue the work that he and the rest of the coaching staff had been doing their whole lives. He told the wrestlers gathered around him that they were continuing the work of his own coach, and the work that that coach had done for his whole life before they had passed the sport into Gary's hands. And so you wrestlers, he said, are time travelers. You take our pasts and make them wrestling's future. Not a wrestler moved when he spoke. Not a wrestler said a word. Gary said, "You make us live forever. You make us immortal." And so, PAC5 Wrestling family, thank you for all those same reasons, and mahalo.
I know I'm rambling, but without further ado, I present to you my good friend and teammate for life and 2019 PAC5 Hall of Fame honor inductee, New Lolotai.
Wow. Hopefully I can follow that with something interesting at least. Anyway, I got home a couple of days ago and I had nothing prepared. I've been thinking about this ever since I got contacted. And so I got up early this morning and took a ride around out to Makapu'u, woke my family up 5 in the morning. It was the last time I did that. We actually saw whales. Yeah, it was pretty inspirational. So this is what I've come up with for tonight. First of all, my sincere appreciation to everyone involved with PAC5 organization for this recognition and honor. The committee, staff, coaches, athletic directors, administration, my wife and anchor, Naila, family, and friends here, gracious enough to accept my last minute invite. And of course, all the people behind the scenes who supported this cause, yeah. Most of all, Coach Bo, who had he not designed the plays and another honoree tonight hadn't thrown my way, I wouldn't be standing here tonight. Also, Coach Bo, who was kind enough and patient enough to mentor a typical rascal youth who, as my boss likes to say, was just a squirrel trying to get a nut. I'm sorry, a mainland joke. Anyway, when you realize what an original, creative, and back then very progressive idea of convening a group of independent private institutions to unite into one team, I really believe in that concept lies the seed of what life is really all about. Cooperation, harmony, unity, and if those things work out, then possibly and hopefully victory. Victory brings joy. In my support of a youth league I had a hand in creating, most of the issues I personally struggled with were, in my opinion, insignificant. I wasn't interested in being involved with just another league. It had to be more than the win-loss column. It had to have a bigger, higher purpose. So upwards of 80% of the kids in the league were from highly dysfunctional backgrounds. So getting the kids ready for high school and actually instilling values that would be very important for the rest of their lives. That was the purpose, the reason, and the question I needed to have answered. There's no time to get into all the details of what happened or if I succeeded in that mission, but what matters is what I've learned through that whole process. Number one, it's relatively easy to start something if you have the passion and desire for it. However, as many of you behind the scenes people understand, to sustain it, that's a very different proposition. Number two, unity. As a good friend of mine here always told me, if the paddles of a canoe aren't stroking in unison, your canoe can actually go in circles. And we've been there, yeah. Sometimes it feels like that, yeah. And lastly is purpose, which to me was the crux of it all. In the early years, I've heard stories of coach going out on a limb and getting kids who had athletic ability from the boys' home. Some who had, at such a young age, already had a record, a troubled history. But he gave them a shot. He gave them a chance. Last time we went to dinner, and it was heartwarming. Hear how, one of those troubled youth from our time, still to this day, shows his appreciation by sending a Christmas card every year to coach. It's just a card, but behind it is really a plea of gratitude, a sign of appreciation and love, expression of heartfelt thank you for caring enough to reach out at a time when he needed it. He's doing very well, thank you. Thank you to all you here involved with mentoring young people. Thank you for persevering. Thank you for reaching out to a youth going through such a time in their life. This is what motivates one to carry on when things are difficult. Coach Bo, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Mahalo.
On behalf of Coach Bo, the PAC5 athletic family, it's my honor to introduce and welcome into the PAC5 Wolfpack Athletics Hall of Honor, class of 2019, Liava'a Moevao. Leo would also be on offensive line.
Wow. I was sitting down here and I was asked by this young gentleman here across from me, are you ready? I said, how do you follow an act like that? Well, not an act, actually, but a speech like that. First of all, tonight, I just want to take a moment to thank God for bringing all of us up here from different parts of the state as well as the country. I know New and I came from California, and some of our relatives as well that travel from afar, so it's just, I think it's just right and it's appropriate that we thank God for bringing all of us here safely tonight. There are those that were recipients ahead of me and New, that coaches and some of the wrestlers, the judos, I tell you, sitting down there and listening to all that, it brings back a lot of memories. Even up listening to Kip and Greg talking about the PAC5 program when it first started. I have a story about that. When I came from, I came to check on my for vacation from LA in '75 with the thinking that I was supposed to return. I was attending a pretty popular high school, Carson High School in California. And I was to be the next starting quarterback because our quarterback has just graduated. So when I came here to visit my parents, my father sat me down and said, "Son, you notice your ticket is one way, right?" I said, "Yes." "That means something." I said, "What does that mean?" "You're not going back." So needless to say, that was the start of my high school career here. But nevertheless, I think Greg and New and Kip had pretty much summarized the whole program. I had a cousin that had already attended University Lab School. His name was Ben Sialenga, and he came over to visit us in Waianae, and he said, "Hey, we have a real good football program, and we're good. So come visit us." So I went with Ben, visited University High School. At the time, Dr. Krause was the principal. And then later on that afternoon, we went up and met Coach Botello. And it was there that I found out that Ben, this whole time, was lying to me. PAC5 didn't even win a scrimmage. But regardless of all that, I want to say tonight, not to take up much of your time, first of all, New has already thanked a lot of you, the committee that put this together, those that were before us when this first started, I believe in 2013, the recipients then until now, but especially to this man here. You know, to be able to take the no talents, if you would, and I don't mean that with the players, but the players that he had from different schools, that was another thing. When I heard of the name PAC5, I said, what kind of name is that? And then I found out that they took 5 little schools and put it together to form a football team because they didn't have enough athletes. To me, that was amazing. And to have Coach Botello and the rest of them, athletic directors, to work together to accomplish that goal, that was something. But I think for me personally, coming here in Hawaii and going to high school and meeting all these different people was the camaraderie. Greg Roberts said it best. We weren't thinking about winning, although we wanted to so bad, but we were just enjoying the sport back then. You know, I came from LA. I found out Nu'u and a couple of other Samoan boys came from Samoa. So we all came from different parts, and then Greg Roberts was here with the other. And then when we started football, I looked at the offensive line. They were all Asians, and they were smaller than the running backs. I thought to myself, what did I get myself into? So the story behind number 32 that Kip alluded to earlier, I started out as a running back. Me and Roy Murakami, Brent Taniguchi, God bless his heart. So sorry to hear about Brent. I started out as a running back with my cousin Urukita. Knew who was our quarterback, which we were fine. So on the season went, I think it was the 3rd game, those Kamehameha guys, sorry Blaine, a good friend of ours, Blaine Geisen, they were after New because New was a good quarterback. Anyway, New got injured, and guess what? Coach Botello said, we gotta improvise. You, get in there and play quarterback. One thing about Coach, after a year, I went home and I told my parents, are you guys sure my name is Leah? They said, yeah, why? Because Coach Botello's been calling me, hey, you dumb Portuguese, come here. But I tell you, it was there that we started to work together. You know, I was told once, behind every athlete, there always has to be a mentor. And throughout all these years, I believe it's over 40 years that I haven't been in contact with Coach Bo and the rest of the program personally. I do talk to Kip every now and then online, but all these years have passed, we could never forget what this man had done in our lives and the rest of us that played under his leadership. He not only molded us, he brought the best out of us, and he also was a father to us, a father figure when we were away from home. And it was those assets and those things that we took with us wherever we went. I know for me, it works for me today. Today, I'm married with 4 grown children. My youngest son was the quarterback for Oregon State back in 2007, 2008, Lyle Moevao, and it's all due to this man. Every time they said, hey, that's your son, I said, yeah. You know who taught me was the Spud Botello. So tonight, I just want to say, Coach, thank you so much. Thank you for all that you have done, not just for me and New and Greg and all of, but all the players that came under your leadership and all the coaches that were there. I know some of them are not around anymore, but nevertheless, I personally feel that I am in debt to all of you for what you have done. Because without the coaching and the influence and the inspiration things that you taught us, some of us will turn out the way we are nowadays. And New, you'll always be my brother. Wherever we go, whether it's at the Morn Connection, we're always connected. And all of us are always connected. Why? Because we're all children of God, and that's why we're connected. So tonight, thank you for this honor, Mr. Esdomogas, Peter. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you to the principals, Kip, Greg Roberts. Don't ever change, you're still the same. And thank you to all of you that put this together. And tonight, when we all leave, may God bless all of you and guide you home safely. Manuia Lafiafi, thank you.
Parents, student athletes. And people have always asked me, why is PAC5 so important? And I'm going to tell you, my last 10 years as being the athletic director for PAC5, I've hardly had any turnovers in my coaches. For whatever the reasons are, for the facilities that we don't have, for the many schools that they have to deal with, there always is there. And because of Coach Don Botello, because of people like Coach Tony Sellitto, that make sure that their student athletes in their schools, that if they don't have a program, that they can be a part of PAC5. So Coach Tony, congratulations.
I want to keep this as short as possible. I don't know really what to say, except I had a great mentor when I was coming into the ILH years and years ago when I came out of the service. Clay Benham and Eddie Hamada, Clay Benham from Kamehameha and Eddie Hamada from Iolani. They were great friends of mine. Unfortunately, they're not with us today. I thought one of the great things that could happen in my life was that I could be involved in PAC5. I know a lot of you guys are out there, and you've had great success. Pio Saga Politelli played for San Diego State and went on in the pros, and he was a great player. And a lot of other great players from different schools played in the pros, and they were great. But I just want to say that I really thought that PAC5 was a great institution, and I was there the exact, not a week, not a month, not a year, but the exact day it started. Exact. And I was very interested in it, and I thought it could work. And coming from a small school like Marino, I said, if we can get these schools together, I thought that they would add to the ILH and become a very, very good football team. I was excited about it. And it happened. And we had some young coaches, and they coached PAC5. And then it came to, a couple years later, we had an opportunity to get Don Botello. And, I don't know about you guys, but I'm from New Jersey. I'm not from here. And I thought, Don Botello, yeah, he's a good guy. I really liked him, and I thought he could do a good job. And I wanted to hire him. And so we went to this meeting, and it was very funny. There were 3 or 4 of us, or 5 of us coaches, and they said, we're thinking of hiring Don Botello. And I said, Can I leave now? Because if you don't hire Don Vitello, you're not very smart. So, I don't want to be here, waste this time. Hire Don Vitello, and you don't have to worry about it. And of course, eventually we did, and he was the coach, and they did, of course, an excellent job. And then I was, somebody told me today, don't say this in front of all these people. And I said, look, they already think of me what they're thinking of me, so what do I care? I said, listen, I want to hire Don Vitello, and I want to raise my children to play for me. I had 2 sons, Tino and Gino. I want them to play for me, and I want them to play for PAC5. I don't really care about the other schools, Punahou, Cam, Iolani, St. Louis. Not interested. I want them to play for me. And if they lose for me. And if they win for me. That's the way I felt about it. I don't know about you people, but I know from living in Hawaii a long time, since 1965, a long time, that a lot of coaches, and they told me not to say this tonight, but I could care less. They said, my son played for Marino or Mid-Pac or whatever the PAC5 schools were, but they're going to Punahou, Cam, or St. Louis. And I said, my sons will only play for me in PAC5. They will never play for anybody else. That's out of the question. And I could not understand people who didn't think like that. I really didn't. Coming from New Jersey, of course, I felt differently about a lot of things. But I couldn't understand that. And now all of you are here. It's been truly a great experience for me to have my son Tino, who's over there now, who quarterbacked them to the Prep Bowl championship in 1982. And my other great basketball player I had, Garrett Gabriel, quarterbacked them to the championship under Coach, both of them under Coach Vitello in 1984. I felt absolutely vindicated for having done that. So I'd just like to say that for all of you who support PAC5, please, in the future, and I'm not at Marino now, I left and I'm much older than that now. I wish all the great athletes at Marino went to play for PAC5 football. I encourage my sons to play at PAC5 football because I thought, and of course I'm being partial about this, if you play football and then become a basketball player, you're going to be a lot better basketball player. So I encourage both of my sons to play PAC5 football because they were going to become good basketball players, and both of them were. So for all of you out there, in conclusion, let me say, if you have young children, let them play for PAC5 because I'm telling you, in the future, they'll become really good basketball players. So thank you very much.